Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Knows.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
We go back this hour to October 26, 1937. Edward G. Robinson starring in a program called Big Town. You've heard a lot of the later versions. We only have a few episodes with Edward G. Robinson, and this episode is entitled Fire Trap.
From Hollywood, California, the makers of Rinso, America's biggest-selling package soap, present Edward G. Robinson with Claire Trevor in a series of powerful dramatic half-hours entitled Big Town. Big Town is not a place you could point to on the map. It is a fictitious city, and all the characters in Big Town are fictitious. Any similarity of names or events to living persons is purely accidental. Playing a vital part in the life of Big Town is the Illustrated Press, the town's biggest and most powerful newspaper. And at the helm of that newspaper is Steve Wilson, the dynamic managing editor with an insatiable thirst for more and more circulation. On the same paper, interested in her work, but more deeply interested in Steve Wilson, is the young and pretty society editor who writes under the name of Lorelei. Steve Wilson is played by Edward G. Robinson, who did such brilliant work in Little Caesar and Kid Galahad. Lorelei is played by Claire Trevor, conspicuous for her characterizations in Maiden Lane and Dead End. The scene of our story is the offices of the Illustrated Press, a boiling cauldron of activity, a bedlam of noises. Everyone upon his toes, rushing, hurrying, grumbling, grunting, shouting, swearing, trying to keep up the mad pace set by Steve Wilson, the managing editor.
Professor Gardner has just been awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Give it a paragraph and stick it on 10.
Peggy Sheridan, a chorus girl, just won a beauty contest at Coney Island.
Make it 2 columns and spread it on the front page. There's a guy outside with pictures of a couple of Rembrandts just found in Holland.
Not interested.
There's another guy outside with a new comic strip for kids.
Send him right in.
Okay.
What are you doing for Sunday feature?
How about a 2-page spread on famous inventors?
Too tame. Make it famous gangsters.
Righto.
In the office of Mr. Peabody, the publisher and major stockholder of the Illustrated Press, we find Mr. Peabody and Steve Wilson, the managing editor, in a heated argument about a libel suit instituted by William B. Harding because of an article Lorelei wrote in the Illustrated Press condemning Harding's factory building as a fire trap.
Peabody, that quick double-cross you gave Lorelei is going to cost you just exactly 100 grand.
Now, you listen to me, Steve. If this paper does go bankrupt paying libel judgments, it's your fault.
Sure. I expected that. Peabody, you wouldn't stand up at your own hanging unless you were supported. But this time you're lost.
I'll fire Lorelei and...
Sure, you'll fire her.
Good riddance.
But you'll fire me, too. Peabody, stock in the Illustrated Press is transferable. I'm going to make Joe Donahue, the bartender at Parry's, your partner. He's the greatest mixer of cheap jags in town.
Cheap jack?
Yes, cheap jags. Peabody, you gave Lorelei the lead on that story because you knew she would eat it up. And when she saw that Harding's factory was a fire trap, she exposed it because it's the sort of thing she likes.
I'm not running a mutual admiration society. I'm running a newspaper.
We're running a dirt sheet, and you know it. You knew Lorelei wouldn't dig out the real facts back of that story on the Harding factory fire violation. She thought you were on the level.
I am.
Yeah, so was Dillinger.
Now, be careful. You can't afford to lose a job.
Well, you know what you can do with your job.
Now, try to be calm, Steve. It's all very simple. We fire the girl Lorelei, and Harding withdraws his license.
Yes, we fire you, and I may have a chance for a seat, at least in the last row of St. Peter's Auditorium.
I think you're getting unduly excited, Steve.
No, I'm not excited. If you must know, I'm slowly going mad.
Take it easy, Steve. Take it easy. I don't want you getting a nervous breakdown.
Oh, don't worry. I'll probably go on writing these shame columns until Beelzebub calls his chief disciple, Steve Wilson, home. You know why?
Because you're a newspaper man, Steve.
A newspaper man, my foot. I'll tell you why. Because you were smart enough to declare me in on the profits of your cheap, bawdy paper.
We've been doing very well, Steve, thank God. And thank you.
Oh, don't thank God and don't thank me. Thank the things that are able to take a man and turn him upside down and inside out. Thank those perverse appetites that are able to make a human being feast like a vulture on the ills and misfortunes of his fellow men.
Well, I wouldn't say such things, Steve.
No, you wouldn't. You've learned how to calm your conscience into accepting lies and suicides and hatred as normal. Now listen, Peabody, you stay away from my side of this racket, and especially Miss Lorelei. You double-crossed her.
Now, wait a minute,
Someday
Steve.
I'm going to give the Peabody closet such a shaking up that the rattling of those skeletons will be heard in every corner of the globe. Now, remember that, Peabody. You taught me how to sling dirt, and now my marksmanship is perfect. Oh, I can't stand this room any longer. I'm going back.
Oh, Mr. Wilson?
Yes, Miss Foster?
Miss Lorelei is waiting to see you in your office.
Oh, thank you. I'll go right in. Hello, Lorelei. I'm sorry I kept you waiting. Just been talking to St. Peabody.
Oh, that's all right.
But I'm going to get right down to business. Lorelei, you're a fool.
Well, that's a pretty business. I didn't know you were a psychoanalyst.
Well, Peabody made a sucker out of you.
Well, he's been making a sucker out of you for a good many years.
But that has nothing to do with the spot you find yourself in.
I know. Peabody told me the happy news that I'll cost the paper $100,000 in a libel suit because of that article I wrote on Harding's factory.
Well, Peabody was born a liar, is a liar, and will lie on Judgment Day. Harding is out to get Peabody. That's why Peabody gave you the lead on that story.
I wrote it on Peabody's fact.
Yes, I know you did. Oh, and a great yarn, too. Yes, ma'am, you made that piece sizzle. Congratulations.
For getting into a libel suit?
Oh, no, for getting the news. You wrote the best piece the big town has read in a long time.
Well, it isn't worth $100,000.
Oh, sure it is. That was a great head, Lorelei. Mr. Harding's Inferno. A great head for describing the factory Harding owns. Mr. Harding's Inferno. You know, I like that. Yes, ma'am, I like that.
Well, Harding doesn't.
Now, look, Lorelei. Let me give you the lowdown on the Peabody-Harding feud.
They know each other?
Certainly. Peabody hates Harding because Harding is no phony. He's on the level. They meet on charity boards and church councils. Peabody is always trying to sell real estate to some charitable institution at 5 times what it's worth. Harding is always trying to stop him, and does.
The hypocrite. It's Peabody who should be exposed by the Illustrated Press, not Harding.
Oh, and leave ourselves open for the DA's office to clamp down on the paper?
That factory is the worst fire trap that
Sure, Lorelei, sure. It's Inferno with a capital N. It's the devil's oven. And it was conceived and built and executed by a Peabody.
Not by...
No, not by our benefactor, St. Peabody, the public-spirited owner of the Illustrated Press, but by his son-in-law.
Oh.
Harding owns nothing. He's a stockholder in the bank and holds a mortgage on the factory. He's innocent.
Well, I took Peabody's word for it that Harding was guilty.
You'll know better next time. You'll know that Peabody has no word, no honor, no friends. No, not even worms waiting for him at the end of the journey.
He can buy men and women to carry out his filthy schemes.
Yes, you're right. He can buy me to do his dirty work for him.
Well, he can't buy me.
An excellent bit of heroics, but futile. You can't quit.
Why can't I?
Because you'll be double-crossing me. Now, I need you, Lorelei, now more than ever. If you quit, Peabody will offer you up to Harding as a sacrifice.
Sacrifice?
Sure. He'll paint you as a scatterbrained society girl, a sweet-scented Lady Bountiful who came out of society to interfere with the smooth course of journalism. He'll tell everyone he fired you.
But I quit.
Sure you did, but he won't tell that to Harding.
How can you stand such a man all these years?
I can't. And I can't give up the luxuries I don't need, but have trained myself to enjoy. Vicious habit.
Why don't you tell him what you think of him?
I did, Lorelei, I did. Every time I tell him what I think of him, I burn a candle for my soul. And now, Lorelei, if you promise to stick, I'll go up and tell Mr. Peabody's symbol of cockeyed justice just what I think of him.
Oh, you mean his lawyer, Mr.
Yes,
Salsa.
Mr. Salsa. Will you promise to stick?
I promise.
Okay, I'm on my way. Good morning. Is Mr. Salter in his office?
Yes, Mr. Wilson. Go right in.
Hello, Steve. How's the mighty editor?
Come on, cut it out, Salter. You've got a job to do, and a very important one. Get us out of this Harding libel suit, or you'll be minus a scalp.
But we haven't a leg to stand on, Mr. Wilson. We libel the man.
Say, whose lawyer are you, Salter? Ours or Harding's? Come on, get us out of this.
I can't.
Listen, Salter. I had a nice editorial all ready to print in the Illustrated Press as the start of a campaign to make you a judge. To tell how able a lawyer you are and what a fine, upright judge you'd make. Peabody's already talked to the boss downtown. You were all set to spend the rest of your life in judicial cold storage. But now all bets are off. You understand? All bets are off.
Well, can I help it that Mr. Harding has led a clean life? He's a respectable...
Respectable. Respectable is a relative term. There must be a slip somewhere.
Yeah, but there's never slipped.
Well, then he must be a horrible bore to someone. Someone must be sick and tired of him. How does his wife stand him?
She loves him.
Yes, I know, but that doesn't mean that she stands him. Oh, besides, that's out of your department. That's Mrs. Corbett's department, Advice to the Lonely Heart. That gives me an idea. I'll use your phone. This will only take a minute. Lonely Hearts Department? Steve Wilson talking. Tell Mrs. Corbett to go to my office as soon as she can and wait for me. Tell me, Salsa, was there ever a divorce in the Harding family?
My office investigated that angle thoroughly. There are no divorces.
Well, then we'll make one.
Make one?
Yes. Manufacture one. Create one. You know, fix one.
How?
Well, that's your business, my upright judge, not mine. You know the ingredients.
But look here.
Well, look here, nothing. Now send me your best investigators. No detectives. You know, investigators. There's a difference. One finds news and the other gets it.
I understand.
Good day. Hello, Arnold. Liked your column last night.
Oh, thanks, boss. How about a raise? Got a new kid, the cutest little kid.
Congratulations, Arnold. I'll send it through for you.
Gee, that's great.
Oh, and by the way, come into my office, will you? I want to talk to you.
Okay.
Now, Arnold, I'm going to make this short. I heard that the Hardings, you know, William B. and his wife, are having tough sledding.
You mean the socialite Hardings?
Yes.
Say, boss, that's so hot you can start a fire at the Stork Club with it. I'll spread this one, boy, and will Peabody like it.
Now, take it easy, take it easy. I don't want a big story, Arnold. It isn't worth it. Just an interesting line, something like this. Is it true that the Hardings, socialites, are throwing sticks and stones at each other and are about to renovate it? Then ended like this. Too bad. Nice people shouldn't do such things.
Thanks, boss. That saves me writing it.
Now, goodbye, Arnold, and I won't forget that baby needs a pair of shoes. You'll find it in the pay envelope.
Thanks, boss. And throw in a bottle of scotch, just in case baby catches cold.
Hello? Miss Foster.
Yes, Mr. Wilson?
Get me Charlie in the morgue. And tell him I want all the clips on the William B. Harding.
Yes, sir, right away.
Come in.
You sent for me, Mr. Wilson?
Yes. Your lonely heart space, Mrs. Corbett, has been very interesting.
Thank you.
May I make a suggestion?
Always received gratefully from you, Mr. Wilson.
I want you to get me a picture and a story, a signed story, by Mrs. William B. Harding, president of Help a Neighbor Society. A story on divorce.
Of course, Mr. Wilson. I know Mrs. Harding very well.
Yes?
She's always glad to cooperate with the Illustrated Press.
Well, now, that's fine. I wanted to cover particularly the relationship of stenographers to their employers as a reason for divorce.
Yes?
Mrs. Harding's opinion on domestic affairs is very important.
It should make a very interesting article, Mr. Wilson.
Come in. Oh, it's you. Now, come in, boys. Come in.
Mr. Wilson.
Well, good day, Mr. Corbett.
Good day, Mr. Wilson.
Sit down, Collins.
Thanks. I want you to meet Kelly here.
Oh, hello, Kelly.
Hello. How do you feel, Mr. Wilson?
Oh, fine. Say, I haven't seen you since the Miller case. You did a very good job then.
I just got the evidence.
You certainly did. Found it lying around when no one else could find it.
Is this the same setup, boss?
You know William B. Harding?
The banker, the society guy?
Yes. He wants $100,000 from the poor Illustrated Press.
Why, the robber. A libel suit, huh?
Exactly.
Do we get the usual bonuses for the right evidence if he calls it off?
Oh, double, Collins. Double bonus.
What's the matter with him?
Well, it seems that Mrs. Harding wants some grounds for divorce.
We'll accommodate the lady.
How long do you think it'll take?
About 2 weeks.
2 weeks. We'll tear down in 2 weeks what it took Harding 30 years to build up. Thanks, boys, and good luck. Mr. Peabody, like the British Navy, expects every man to do his duty.
That brings down the curtain on the first part of tonight's episode of Big Town, starring Edward G. Robinson with Claire Trevor. The people are leaving their seats for the brief intermission.
October 26, 1937, Big Town on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
You know, a lot of times you have to choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. But if you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to health care. And that's MetaShare. You get both. The typical family saves $500 a month switching to MetaShare. And that's huge. But it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MetaShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. It's because MetaShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge PPO network. So, yeah, really, you could save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. If you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. Here is the number you need. Call 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 833-34-BIBLE.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, more of Edward G. Robinson in Big Town, October 26, 1937.
The people are getting back to their seats again, and now we're ready for the second part of the show. 2 weeks have gone by. In his attempt to force Harding to drop the libel suit, Steve Wilson has printed in the Illustrated Press a series of well-directed items calculated to arouse suspicion and distrust in the Harding household. The cumulative effect has been to destroy what was formerly a peaceful and happy home. Our scene opens in the library of the palatial Harding home. Mr. Harding is seated at his desk, distraught and worried. His wife, Elizabeth, is standing in the doorway.
Come in, Elizabeth. Please sit down.
Thank you, William.
Elizabeth, you must believe in me.
I want to.
Don't you see? Peabody has manufactured this entire thing. Remember, Elizabeth, the first step, the little piece in the paper that said we were about to separate?
How could I forget it?
Of course, Mrs. Radin brought it to your attention. That was vicious, exactly what Peabody wanted.
But why?
The interview with you by Mrs. Corbett.
Yes.
All of that was a put-up job. And getting my secretary drunk so that I would help her was all part of the scheme, too.
Did you have to take her to a room at the hotel and have your picture taken?
It was a business acquaintance of mine who suggested I take her to his room.
A business acquaintance?
Yes, a man I thought I knew casually. Mr. Kohler or Coker. No, it was Collins. What difference does that make? Can't you believe in me?
Believe in you? Oh, well, I've always had such faith in you.
Yes. Yes, you've had faith in me for 30 years. Why can't you have faith in me now?
Oh, well.
Listen to me, Elizabeth. Last night I walked from my office into that little church at the top of the street. Remember? Where we both thanked God for our son?
Yes.
But this time I was alone. I asked the Lord to make clear to me his punishment of us, to tell me what we've done to deserve this. Oh, Elizabeth, won't you try to understand?
I am trying, Will, but I hear people laughing at me. Everywhere I go, I hear people talking in whispers, mocking me, making me feel ashamed. No, Will, I think it's best we separate. For a little while, anyway.
All right. That will make you happy, Elizabeth. All that matters to me now is your happiness. I'm going to see the editor, Mr. Wilson, at his home. Today. Now.
Steve, how can you go on playing that tune?
Who has a better right, Lorelei?
Well, you're a first-class optimist if you think anybody will abide with you after this. Even God.
He has abided with me so far.
He has tolerated you.
Now, what's eating you now?
Well, I just had to leave the newspaper women's club. No one talks to me civilly.
Well, maybe they haven't anything to say.
You know why they don't talk to me. It's because I'm on that rotten sheet of yours. Because you're taking the Harding family and crucifying them.
Well, it seems to me that you could have explained why we are crucifying Harding since you started Harding's March to Calvary with your original story.
You're trying to pass the buck, Steve. You can't do it. You know I could have rectified that.
Only by paying $100,000 and ruining me and Peabody and the Illustrated Press.
By apologizing.
Well, we tried that.
How? By sending a cheap lawyer who offered Harding an apology in the shape of a favor to him.
Well, you must forgive Salsa. He has been working too hard for a judgeship to know how to handle justice.
Well, how long is this going to go on?
Until Harding recalls his legal bloodhound.
You're going to frame Harding more and more and spread his manufactured shame over a filthy libel sheet. And that last headline of yours, Mr. William B. Harding found in hotel room with drunken stenographer. Horrible manufactured dirt.
Ah, but the fact remains that Harding put her up in the hotel.
Yes, because he's kind and good. That poor girl had been with him for years, looking after his office, helping him. He was only trying to be of service to a girl who couldn't navigate and might get into trouble.
You know, I think you've got something there.
So have you something on your conscience that will eat your heart out sometime. Oh, you'll beat Harding all right. You'll defeat him. Not because you're stronger, but because he loves someone more than he loves himself.
Excuse me, Mr. Wilson. I think maybe you want something to eat before I go.
Sure, Minna. Give him rat poison. I'm through with him. Goodbye.
There she goes. May, but she's mad.
She doesn't like me, Minna.
I know women. I think she do, yeah?
Well, what makes you think so?
Because you're a nice man.
Well, she disagrees with you, definitely.
That I don't understand. You are so kind to everybody.
Yes? Is that why people try to shoot me? And my best friends won't talk to me?
Well, I don't know. I've been with you pretty near 10 years.
Well, you've been very good to me, Minna. You helped me.
Thanks for my picture in your paper.
Oh, don't mention it.
My Swedish club vote to buy only the Illustrated Press.
Oh, well, thanks. That helps the circulation. By the way, tell me, what does the Scandinavian Domestic Dramatic and Athletic Club offer this week by the great Ibsen?
Just once a month we play Ibsen, Mr. Wilson.
Oh.
This week we be Americans.
Americans? Yeah. Well, what do you play in the American dramatic series? Barbara Fritchie or Pocahontas?
Lincoln.
What?
And the conclusion of Big Town, October 26, 1932, when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues following these words. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Big Town, starring Edward G. Robinson, October 26, 1937.
You played Lincoln?
Nay, Mr. Wilson. I recite Lincoln.
Well, that will please Honest Abe, I'm sure.
Ja, the Gettysburg Address.
No, Minna.
Ja, Mr. Wilson.
Well, let's hear some of it.
80 several years... Excuse me, Mr. Wilson.
Why, certainly.
I'll start once more.
Yes, go right ahead.
87 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Created equal. Tell me, Minna, do you really believe that?
Sure, I believe it, Mr. Wilson. Sometimes they start, but they don't finish.
Yes, you're right, Minna. Sometimes they start, but they don't finish.
I answer the door, Mr. Wilson.
All right, Minna.
Right in here, Mr. Harding.
Thank you.
Mr. Harding? Oh, come in, Mr. Harding.
Thank you.
If I said that this was a pleasure...
Or a surprise.
You wouldn't believe me.
Under the circumstances, hardly.
Quite right.
Mr. Wilson, as the managing editor of, shall I say, a newspaper.
Yes, if you're generous, Mr. Harding.
There are times when it's difficult to be generous.
I can appreciate that.
As the managing editor of the Illustrated Press, you've done me an irreparable injury.
But I'm sorry, but as the managing editor of the press, we print news.
I'm neither sorry nor is my personal life such as it is news. Do you realize that out of pure malice you're separating me from my wife? We've been happily married for 30 years.
We printed the news.
You printed a manufactured scandal to stop my suit against this paper.
But if it was crooked, the courts will give you justice.
There's no defense against such tactics as you and your sheet indulge in.
Wait a minute. You expected us to give you $100,000 of the newspaper's money, didn't you?
I expect nothing from anyone now, except my peace of mind, my wife back, the respect you've stolen from me.
Oh, then you will stop the suit. Well, that's very sensible.
No, not sensible, but sensitive. You know, there should be some way by which you and your kind could be stopped. Some way by which the honest, decent newspaper fraternity could make you stop your blackmail under the guise of journalism.
You're unduly bitter. But I can't say that I blame you. But since you are willing to play ball with us, we will show you that the Illustrated Press doesn't deserve your characterization. We'll retract our story.
Retract? Can you retract the harm you've done? Can you heal the wounds you've inflicted on Mrs. Harding, the degradation of my poor secretary? Can you?
Well, tomorrow my paper shall carry a special article on the divinity of forgiveness. And the front page will carry a story of your qualities in the past. Charity, respectability, oh yes, and a statement that the Illustrated Press has made an unfortunate mistake.
Unfortunate mistake? hatched a foul scheme to bring me to terms, to make me cringe and beg for mercy in spite of all my rights. Because those I love are dearer to me than my own pride.
And as for Mr. Peabody and myself, believe me, Mr. Harding, we humbly apologize.
I don't want your apology. I want back my peace of mind. I expect to see you rectify this filthy business as much as you can in your yellow sheet. My lawyer will immediately discontinue my action. The suit will be wiped out. But how about your conscience, Mr. Wilson?
Well, my conscience, Mr. Harding, like John Brown's body, lies moldering in the grave, wrapped in a yellow sheet.
Goodbye, Mr. Wilson.
Goodbye, Mr. Harding. Well, that's that. Lorelei.
Yes, I came back. I saw Mr. Harding go.
Yes, and now you see what he left behind.
What?
The greatest faker in the world, washed up.
Washed up?
Yes. I tried, Lorelei, to serve two gods, Mammon and his disciple, St. Peabody. But I'm through with St. Peabody.
You've got a moral hangover.
You think so?
Yes. And when you write your resignation, you've got mine with it.
For better or for worse?
For better or for worse?
That brings down the curtain on the second episode of Big Town, starring Edward G. Robinson with Claire Trevor.
October 26, 1937, Big Town on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we start off with part 3 of the 5-part yours truly Johnny Dollar story, The Alvin Summers Matter, October 26, 1955.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Bob Bailey as
Johnny Dollar.
This is Lieutenant Gomez of the Santo Tomas Police Department.
Oh, yeah, Lieutenant.
I have been trying to reach you for some time.
Sorry, I was out making some funeral arrangements.
It is about the dead man that I wish to speak to you, senor.
Fire away, Lieutenant. What's on your mind?
Precisely the question I was about to ask you.
What do you mean?
Surely I do not need to remind you that Benito Escanza was found dead in your hotel room earlier this evening.
You certainly don't. But I've already told one of your cops the whole story.
Perhaps. Perhaps not. I suggest that you come to see me so that we can discuss it further.
Is that an invitation or an order?
Let us call it an invitation. But if you do not accept, we will have to come and get you.
Tonight and every weekday night, Bob Bailey in the transcribed adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Santo Tomas, Mexico. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Home Office, Northeastern Fidelity and Bonding, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of additional expenses during my investigation of the Alvin Summers $75,000 embezzlement case. Item 6, $25 American. Funeral and burial expenses for Benito the bellboy. Somebody had to do it, and he apparently had no family. After I made the arrangements with the town's undertaker, I went back to my room and received Lieutenant Gomez's polite but firm invitation to drop in on him. So I went on down to police headquarters.
Sit down, Senor Dollar.
Thanks, Lieutenant. So?
So, the autopsy has confirmed the fact that Benito Escanza died from knife wounds.
I didn't need an autopsy to tell me that. It was obvious.
But what is not obvious is your part in all of this.
Look, the story hasn't changed a bit since I told it to your Sergeant Romero. I went back to my room at midnight. I opened my balcony door and in rolled Benito. His throat had been cut.
That is the story. As to what is behind the story, that may well be another matter.
For instance?
For instance, In a case such as this, everyone is a potential suspect. Everyone, including you.
Isn't this being pretty ridiculous, Gomez?
Is it? Then perhaps you would be kind enough to tell me if there was some legitimate reason Benito had his throat cut in your hotel room.
Well, in the first place, if you're interested in alibis, I've got one.
Indeed?
Indeed. I was with a girl named Gloria Harris up at the Hotel Playa del Mar all evening. You can check that.
Oh, you may be quite certain that I am checking on all your activities this evening, senor.
In the second place, if you're interested in motives, I don't have one.
No?
Why would I want to kill Benito when I was hoping to get some information from him?
Information of what sort, Senor Dollar?
Oh, I guess I better start at the top, Lieutenant. Here's my card.
You're an insurance investigator.
That's right. About 6 months ago, a man named Alvin Summers up in the States embezzled $75,000 from the company he worked for. The outfit I'm representing in the deal wrote the bond on him, so they were stuck for the money.
$75,000.
A couple of days ago, they got a long-distance phone call from down here in Santo Tomas. The man who called claimed that he had information about Alvin Summers. That's why I came down here.
Now, who was the man who telephoned?
We don't know. I came on the chance that he might contact me here, or that I might get some kind of lead on Alvin Summers' whereabouts.
And have you?
No, on both counts. Benito said he knew about a place where Summers used to live. He was going to take me there tonight. But apparently somebody had other ideas, and a knife to back them up.
I see. Nobody has tried to contact you?
Oh, sure. Several people have, but always for the wrong reason. First, there was a man named Carson, a zipper salesman. He contacted me for the purpose of setting up a cribbage game.
Cribbage? What is this cribbage?
Well, now, that's something I hope I never find out. Then there was a strong arm who bounced me around with a gun barrel and suggested politely that I wanted to leave town.
Oh? What did he look like?
Well, he was heavy in the shoulders, thick neck, low forehead, short dark hair, scar over the bridge of his nose.
Scar? That would be Senor Kraus.
You know him?
I know him by sight.
Well, who is he? What's his pitch?
That is something I do not know. Senor, you must understand that Santo Tomas is a rather strange town and a dangerous one. Come in.
Lieutenant.
Can't you see that I'm busy, Sergeant Romero?
What is about Senor Dollar?
Oh?
Well, what is it?
Well, I have talked to a Senorita Gloria Harris at the Hotel Playa del Mar. She said that Senor Dollar was with her throughout the evening.
Very well, Romero.
One thing more. We have just arrested a man, American tourista, Senor Carson.
I will talk to him when I have time.
Hey, wait a minute. That's the zipper salesman I was telling you about.
Indeed?
Yeah. Hey, look, maybe he ties into this deal after all. What's the charge?
Romero?
It's disturbing the peace.
Oh, great. Just when I thought I had a lead. What's the matter? He got a few too many under his belt, maybe?
Well, Romero?
Here's the report. The Senor Carson is outside.
Gracias. That will be all. I will talk to the man.
See, Lieutenant.
Senor Dollar, if you know this man, perhaps you had better come with me.
Okay.
Dollar! Say, I'm sure glad to see you.
Hiya, Carson. What seems to be the trouble?
Well, it wasn't as much as they made it, Dollar. A fella goes out stepping. Sometimes he, well, you know.
Hey, he steps a little too far.
Well, I was only having a little fun.
Senor Carson, this report states that you are at the Hotel Playa del Mar this evening.
That's right. But now, Lieutenant...
It further states that you became increasingly noisy and that at one point, during a dance by an entertainer, you grabbed a serape from one of the musicians and attempted to join in the dance.
Now, Lieutenant, maybe I was a little out of line, but
Further, that when the dancer refused to dance with you, you chased her around the patio several times.
Trying to sell her a zipper, maybe?
Oh, no, Dollar, let up on a guy, will you?
And that finally, when the musician attempted to get his serape away from you, you broke his guitar over his head.
Say, when you get going, you're a real tiger, aren't you?
Are these things true, Senor Carson?
Well, I suppose the facts are correct, but they sound different somehow down here. I was just trying to have a little fun, you know.
See, Sergeant Romero will conduct you to the magistrate. Romero!
Well, Dollar, you're just going to stand there and not do anything? After all, we both live at the same hotel, and...
And?
Oh, you're a big help.
What'll happen to him, Lieutenant?
Oh, you will have to pay the damages, and there will be a fine.
Which will probably go on his expense account. Lieutenant, you started to tell me about this Beetlebrow Kraus who put a few dents in me.
I started to say that before the people from Mexico City built the new hotel, This town, unfortunately, used to be something of a haven for undesirable characters from the United States.
Fugitives, huh?
Some of them still remain. And although I know very little about Senor Krause, it is probable that he is one of them.
Could be.
You say that he and Senor Carson are the only ones who have made any effort to contact you?
Yeah, except for Gloria Harris, of course. I still haven't found out what's on her mind. I mean, what else is on her mind. She says she's down here on a vacation.
Indeed. In that case, it has certainly been a long vacation.
What do you mean?
She has been here for several months, to my knowledge.
Well, well. Now, that's very interesting, Lieutenant. Thanks. Anything else you want to ask me about Benito?
Not at the moment, but I suggest you remain available.
You know where to find me.
One moment, Senor Dollar. A word of warning. As I told you, this town can be a dangerous place. I would suggest that you be quite careful.
Yeah.
And one thing I wish to impress upon you. If you are at any time tempted during your investigation to take the law into your own hands, I assure you that you will regret it.
Well, in that case, I hope you're around when and if I need you.
Whether or not I am available, the warning still applies.
Okay. Be seeing you.
Johnny.
Wow, Gloria. I thought you were tucked in for the night.
I couldn't sleep, so I called your hotel.
Oh?
They told me that the bellboy had been murdered, that you were at the police station, so I came down here. Is there anything I can do?
Not for Benito, I'm afraid.
He was killed in your room?
Yeah.
You think he could have been killed by mistake?
Mistake? You mean maybe I was supposed to be the target? Hey, it's a thought.
Johnny, you're in trouble of some kind. I wish you'd tell me what it is. You're not just down here on a vacation.
Speaking of vacations, Gloria, let's...
Johnny, what is it?
Keep looking straight ahead. There's somebody across the street in the shadows. He's tailing us.
Oh. Can you see who it is?
When he goes past that light, I'll be... Well, what do you know? My old friend Krause again.
You mean the man who came to your room and was looking for you on the beach?
That's the boy. Funny how he always seems to pop up when I'm with you.
Johnny, I tell you, I don't know him.
Doesn't matter right now. Come on. Turn into the alley here. Okay. Now keep going straight down this alley and out the other end. Go back to your hotel, and I'll call you there later. I may be a while.
What are you going to do?
Wait for him.
No, Johnny.
Look, Gloria, don't give me any argument this time. Get going. After she was out of sight, I ducked into a doorway. Then I waited. Yeah, Krause was following all right. I waited until he got right up to me. And I dove at him. You! That's right, me. Drop the gun. Drop it. Yeah, this time I'm ready for you, sweetheart. Funny thing about me, Krause, I don't like guys working over me with a gun barrel, ever. All right. Now you're going to tell me what this is all about. Why you've been tailing me. Why you worked me over with a gun barrel in my room last night. I want to hear all about it.
You know why.
Talk. I said talk.
You're not taking me back.
Taking you back?
I know you came down here after me, but I ain't going back.
What are you talking about?
I know what happens to a three-time loser.
Three-time?
Want me back home, you gotta carry me.
Hey, wait a minute. You ever hear of a man named Alvin Summers?
Oh?
How about Gloria Harris?
No.
You sure about that, Krause?
Look, Don. Look, I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah, I guess you are. You're too punchy right now to give me a routine. Yeah, I think I get it. You're wanted in the States. You figured I was a cop and came down here to make a pinch. Brother, right now, I sure wish I was.
You mean you...
No, I'm no cop.
I guess I made a mistake.
You sure did, Buster.
Know how I'm feeling?
Oh, no, not at all. I just love the feel of a gun barrel whipping across my face. Krause, I got a nice little piece of advice for you. Next time, you better find out what the score is before you jump into the ball game. I left him there in the alley and went back to my hotel. Then, just as I was about to open the door to my room, I heard someone moving around inside. I went quietly down to the end of the hall, out the window, then eased along the balcony back toward my room. Inside, it was dark, but I could make out someone bent over my luggage, searching it. I edged across the room, slowly. Then I lunged.
Ah!
Hello, Gloria.
Johnny.
Yeah, Johnny. helping me unpack, maybe.
Look, I can explain, Johnny.
You know something? That's just exactly what you're going to do.
There'll be another exciting episode in our story of the Alvin Summers Matter tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, how to fall into a trap in one easy lesson. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, is transcribed in Hollywood. Written by Robert Reif, it is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Be sure to join us tomorrow night, same time and station, for the next exciting episode of Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Roy Rowan speaking.
October 26, 1955, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Please thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allow us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. And if you miss a day, you do not have to miss a single show. All of our shows are available on demand at classicradio.stream. You can also find a list of places where you can download our shows by a podcast. You can also learn to build a classic radio collection of your own. You can find our social media links. You can find contact information on how to get a hold of me. And you can also buy me a coffee. The Buy Me a Coffee money goes to help us build our classic radio collection. That's all at classicradio.stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station.